Hi, my name is Maria Spychalska and I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the XPrag.de network, working now at the University of Cologne. I came to linguistics and experimental pragmatics through a kind of detour. I first studied philosophy, then I did a master's degree in logic, and as a PhD student I became fascinated with investigating traditionally theoretical questions about meaning in language with experimental tools, especially neurocognitive methods such as EEG. So I started doing that, and in this way I eventually transformed into a psycholinguist. In my work, I am particularly interested in reasoning, especially inferences that involve the use of logical terms, such as quantifiers, so words like sum, all, or logical connectives. Pragmatics deals with a special type of reasoning that involves not just our understanding of the literal sentence meaning, but also our understanding of the speaker's meaning, what the speaker intends to communicate beyond what she literally says. In one of my current projects, I analyze how in an interactive communication the information about the speaker's knowledge is used by the hearer for generating such pragmatic inferences. Let me give you an example, and I will use a card game for this purpose. It contains a deck of cards that represent different types of beans. Suppose that I am dealt 3 cards that are blue beans. If I said, some of my cards are blue beans, although literally true, this utterance might be considered not adequate or not sufficiently informative, since all my cards are blue beans, and saying so directly would have been more precise, so to say. Now suppose that I am dealt 2 additional cards in such a way that I cannot see them. They are placed face down. Since only partial information about my cards is available, you are likely to consider my utterance, some of my cards are blue beans, more acceptable now than in the previous situation. Let me complicate the scenario even more. Assume now that you, the listener, can see the extra cards, only I can't. Thus you know whether all of my cards are blue beans. So your and mine epistemic perspectives differ, and so will our evaluation of my utterance, some of my cards are blue beans. So one of the questions I investigate is to what extent the information about the speaker's knowledge is involved in the listener's processing of such and similar speaker's utterances. In other words, whether the listener can take the speaker's epistemic perspective when processing speaker's meaning. I investigated with EEG, which means I measure people's electrical activity along the scalp while they are solving linguistic tasks, similar to the game situation I just described. In this way, we can try to better understand cognitive processes underlying our communication, especially when taking the interlocutor's epistemic perspective is essential for a successful interpretation of her utterance.